Oh, hi there. I'm back in New York City in front of Columbia University. This is the gate that we entered for a 2 hour First Amendment window when we were here the other day. That is from 2 p.m. till 4 p.m. They opened the gates for journalists. And if you recall, there were hundreds of them in line to see firsthand the protesters inside, the Hamas encampment. Um, I call them protesters because I suppose that is what they're doing. But there wasn't a lot of talking from those protesters. They were instructed by their leaders not to talk to journalists, not to talk even to friendly journalists, but rather to have hand-picked official spokesmen dealing with the media at large. In fact, if any journalists tried to get in the actual encampment, they were blocked by a combination of students, but also teachers too. I think it was yesterday that a eviction notice was given where they were told that if they didn't leave by, I think it was 2 p.m. or some particular time, they would start to be suspended. Well, they did not go. In fact, a ring of faculty surrounded the students. That those students were threatened with suspension, so the faculty blocked the students. Things got out of hand, though, after dark, when the pro-Hamas protesters managed to break into various buildings and start smashing and trashing buildings. Some very interesting footage from that. Vandalism, of course, graffiti, but also reports that several maintenance staff, janitors, other staff like that, were trapped in there. A kind of hostage situation, if you like, which echoes what Hamas is doing in Israel and Gaza, I suppose. They still have dozens of hostages. It was interesting to me. I saw an image of a maintenance worker at Columbia who probably makes less in a year than tuition is for a single student, that this maintenance worker loved Columbia and the physical plant of it so much that this maintenance worker was trying to stop one of these protesters from desecrating this beautiful university. That maintenance worker caring more about the university than the university's own administration or security team. Of course, it's private property, and you can evict anyone from private property for any reason or no reason. Now, if someone pays tuition, they have certain rights, but those are enumerated in what was called in my day the university calendar, which was a fancy way of saying the entire rule book. If you are camping overnight, if you are engaging in various acts of trespass, if you are engaging in violence, vandalism, breaking and entering into buildings, obviously you're breaking the rules. The university, however, to this day lacks the courage to expel them. Like I say, we're not allowed in there, but the protesters are still in there. Of course, there are protesters on the street who are not members of the university and lack the ID necessary to get inside. That's an interesting thing to me because the Columbia University is easy to seal off. There's gates and fences all around it. Other universities, including where I was yesterday, the University of British Columbia, so clearly have outside organizers. But there was a tactic I noticed in the footage from Columbia last night that I recognized from elsewhere, namely Antifa. The complexion of the protesters is different in the various cities I've been. As you may recall, a few months ago, I went to London in the United Kingdom, and I saw two main demographic streams from the protest. You had about 10 or 15% who were typically old communists, socialist workers' party types in the UK, and some woke students, but the vast majority of pro-Hamas protesters in London are recent immigrants, typically Muslim immigrants, to London. It's just no doubt about it. They are the voice of Pakistani Britons and Bangladeshi Britons, etc. That's the UK. In Canada, I think you have a fair bit of that too, especially since Justin Trudeau has emphasized immigration from countries with Muslim majority populations. And there have been some woke professors and woke white kids from university thrown into the mix. Here in the United States, at least at Columbia and the Fashion Institute of Technology that we visited last week, it is in the main woke, self-hating, white, Marxist communists. I'm just describing what I see. And I think that's just the demographic difference. I overheard an official spokesman talking to a friendly journalist. They didn't want to talk to me much, but I overheard this spokesman talking about how this is but a single chapter in a global revolution that they all want. Take a listen to this snippet of a conversation that I overheard.
It's not just something that has happened now, but the foundation has been built a long time ago. And I think students also realize that like this is not just one issue, but it's like this issue has become the center of the struggle, but it's not the end all be all. Like our struggle doesn't begin and end with Palestine, but it ends and begins with the liberation of all people. And we see that Palestine, like the freedom of the liberation of Palestine being crucial to the liberation of all people everywhere.
I think that's exactly right, because by far the vast majority of protesters here at Columbia and at the Fashion Institute of Technology and other U.S. campuses, they are not Palestinian. They are not Arab. They are not Muslim. In fact, many of them are old stock Americans, to use a phrase. They're just woke. And by woke, I mean they believe in critical race theory and critical theory in general, and a Marxism that's transposed not just on gender and race, but on, in general, the oppressed versus the oppressors. And they see Israel as the oppressor and Palestinians as the oppressed. And tomorrow it'll be a climate battle. And the week after that, it'll be a transgenderism issue. I think that what that young spokesman was saying is actually the true nature of the protesters here. They are, for want of a better term, communists who want to tear down America and all its systems. And Gaza just happens to be the excuse du jour. The fact that Jews pay the price for that in terms of anti-Semitism, well, that's unfortunate.
Why am I here? It's important for me as a Jew, also as an Israeli, to come out and just stand here in the face of evil, be a little bit of a light, and show my support for my country and my people. And I know that it's hard times for us all, and so I just want all my friends and my family to know, like, they're not alone, and this isn't gonna, scare us. That's why it's important for me to be here.
I think a lot of people are scared. I mean, it's daylight and there's a big cop right over there, but have you ever been scared when it's not daylight, when there's not a cop there, when there have been Palestinian protesters? Has there been a moment where you have been scared?
I don't get scared often, but it is scary. If I'm alone, I definitely have to consider where I'm going, what I'm wearing. If I'm definitely alone, I'm definitely more a little discreet about who I am. But I was here on October 8th. Some man from the pro-Palestinian protest came and threw hot coffee in our face. So it is scary, but I trust the police right now to contain the situation. If they weren't here, I wouldn't be here. Let's put it that way.
So are you a student here?
No, absolutely not.
So are you just walking by?
Walking by and here to support Israel.
So are you here today because of this protest, or are you just walking by the neighborhood coincidentally?
Walking by because of this.
And are they still locked up in there? We just got here a moment ago.
Yeah, they're walking by. We all know this. It's against Jews. It's nothing to do with Palestine. It's anti-Semitism at its core. And
well, here in New York, one of the most Jewish cities in the world, Columbia, a university in part funded by Jewish philanthropy, it just seems very shocking that there would be such sharp anti-Semitism in a city that's really known as a Jewish city.
Well, unfortunately, it's not shocking. It's a Kristallnacht 1939 all over again. Till now they tried to disguise behind different things, different agendas. Now they're not ashamed of it. Just walked by, they walked past me, and some people are walking by there and with the LGTB flags and gay stuff. I don't even know if they know how it looks if they go into Gaza with that stuff.
You wear a Jewish yarmulke on your head visibly. What kind of comments, if any, have you received for that?
Well, so far we haven't, because we've been walking this way and they've been walking that way. But I'm ready to receive the hate, but I'm not embarrassed.
I assume there's about 100 protesters still in there. Is that about right?
That's what I've heard. I've heard maybe a little bit more even.
And maybe out here there's, I'd say, less than 100.
Well, yeah.
In a city of New York, that's not a ton. I got to ask you, how widespread is this? Are these just sort of a rent-a-mob protester who, if it's not Gaza this week, it's a climate protest, and if it's not a climate protest, it's a Trump protest. Like, are these just a rent-a-mob, or are these dedicated Palestinian activists?
I'd say there might be rent a mob, but I'd also say that they're not pro-Palestinian activists. They're anti-Semitic activists. They're not here to free Palestine. They're here to terrorize Jews and the Western world and America. That's what I believe.
I see a lot of prefab signs. They're not homemade signs. Who do you think is paying for those?
The IRGC, probably, I'd assume, or Hamas, that are super behind this. There's a reason why people won't talk to you on that side. I'm not sure if you've been, but that's because they have no idea why they're even there. So I'd say if they knew why they were there, they'd be willing to talk to you like I am. But they're not, and there's a reason for that.